This is the RGT one. Is that too harsh? It's not too harsh. I had high hopes for this thing, I really did. We are going to do a reverse review today. That took me too many attempts to say. Who should buy this? I know who should buy this. People like me, who are making a video to show you what this truck's like. Should you buy it? Although this is a 1/8 scale, even though it says 1/10, it's really the size of a 112, and I'm expecting the performance of a 112. I will add that these tires are super sticky. If you haven't watched tests on my 6 problems before, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Just be aware that for any smaller car like this to finish any of the 6 problems is worthy of accolade. So far, this thing has actually done better than many larger trucks. Many cars fall here though. So I need to go high. That rear tire, being so grippy, the spare, is holding the car back here. The servo hasn't got power to steer back either. So this servo is actually, believe it or not, underpowered for this car, given the tires are so grippy. Yeah, the servo's fading already. Those cheap $15, $20 servos that say 15 kilos, crawler, waterproof, they come in a bunch of brands. Power HD makes them. JX Servo has the LV, the 5323 LV, I'll link that below. That would be a fabulous choice for this car. Much stronger than this stock thing. 6 kilo is insufficient for these grippy tires when you're doing more serious crawling, which is what this is. Remember, this is serious crawling. It's not just trail driving here. Remember also that the version 2 of this thing did not break in our testing, and it copped an absolute beating on these rocks. All right, so I didn't have much room for error, but that's problem 1 done, just barely. The other thing to note is a pretty body like this with all the plastic on it means it's top heavy, and that compromises your crawling too. Remember when I opened saying smiles per mile is worth something? If you're after something that's really scale and pretty in this size and this car appeals to you, grab it. I can't recall the servo so bad. That's forgivable on a cheap car, but for its size, this ain't such a cheap car. And in fact, their asking price is $399 Australian, which is around probably the high 200s in US dollars. For just 60 bucks more, I've purchased other 110 scale vehicles like the Sendero HD. I got that for 460 Aussie, and I got the Gen 8 V2 for 460 Aussie as well. All of these were using eBay promo codes, but so much more capable than this thing. So if you like this and you value scale, I don't know, the performance is pretty poor. Now, if you're not that fussed on performance and you like this size, the MN86KS, that's not a bad machine, honestly. It's probably similarly capable to this, maybe a little less capable, but not much. And you'll get a lovely scale, hard body experience for that matter, for about half the price of this thing. And it's about the same size. Problem 3's out. Servo can't even steer straight. I'm not on it right now, look. This thing's pretty bad. Do we even bother with problem 4 at this point? I suppose we should try. Sometimes the geometry of a machine will be such that you'll get a surprise. But the servo just died. This is the face of disappointment. Recommended retail is $399. I paid $319. I'm not sponsored for any of this stuff. It's my own money, right? It's pretty, and it's got some nice plastic bits on it, and it's got a really interesting all-in-one ESC and radio receiver. Like, it's got a nice system and light control kit. There's a lot to like about this thing, but I don't like it. So far on the rocks, it's been about as capable as the MN86KS. 150 bucks, 320 bucks. It's been less capable than the version 2. 200 bucks, 320 bucks. Again, just what I paid, right? This thing is simple, they're really similar underneath, but this one didn't fail. This one didn't have gearing problems, it didn't have balance issues. This is not a hard body like the MN86. This thing should be way worse than this, but it's not. This can actually do problem 1 on the course. That's what this one managed to do after a bit of failure. And it can do it without steering fade. Being just on the rocks like that, the servo still works. This thing had fade from nearly at the beginning. You may not know that I don't like watching reviews until I've done my own. I like to come in with a fresh perspective. I'm into the details, and I really wanted to see this thing do well. It's a 4.8 to 6 volt digital servo, 6 kilogram. That's the RGT badging. Oh, it's not dead. Here's my problem with this thing. I haven't bolted it together. All right, we're up on a problem, right? Just a handy problem I had here. Oh, that's weird. Oh, there you go. I was just walking it across and it's failed. This is the 15 kilo servo that came with the RGT Pioneer. It's working fine. Turn him off, plug this in, turn it on again. Okay, it's faded and stopped working. Now, before we turn it off again, we're going to plug in the new servo. Working fine. Plug in the other one again. Dead. It's the servo. It's okay. So what I was testing was, is it the BEC that's having a problem or is it the servo? And it's the servo. What we're going to do is replace this servo. It's a failure of matching an appropriate component to the intended purpose. If this was like a toy, this servo would be fine, ample. RGT's been on a roll recently and their cars are fabulous. All right, now we're going to set the endpoints, which is the dual rate, as labeled. Good, done. The servo I just stuck in is worth about 20 bucks. So now we've spent 340, not 320. We're now at the same money as the Pioneer. And this Pioneer is impressively good. Let's continue with the test. We've so far managed problem 1. We couldn't do problem 2, we couldn't do problem 3. Let's try problem 4. Okay, problem 4. Now this is a trail truck, right? But it's still a crawler, and part of driving with a crawler is you need to use the steering to help it over obstacles sometimes. So it's not just changing the direction of the vehicle, you're also shifting the position of the vehicle on the rocks, which has an influence on how it gets over obstacles. So your servo wants to be just even minimally able to reef on the rocks and stand up to it. The stock servo was fading on maneuvers like what I just did just then, just that last bit. That's quite disappointing. Okay, we're nearly on to the start of problem 4, which should tell you how well we're probably going to go. No, problem 4's out. Not surprising, but not disappointing either. Problem 4 is really tough. We're going to take the chicken track around problem 5 because we can't get over that without falling. Now the 390 motor it's a small motor, but it's appropriate for this size vehicle, what is going on here? Oh, okay. We've set the tyre at the body. It's appropriate for this size vehicle, which is technically a 1/8, advertises 110, but really it's a 112 size vehicle. And I really would expect it to be able to handle problem 5. Okay, so the stock servo would have faded here completely. Goodness me. I don't know if there's any car I have that can't do this. Just this entry to problem 5. There we go. It's a 1/8 scale vehicle, believe it or not. Top down, we have a wind diffuser on the front of the roof rack, snorkel, bendy mirrors, again a good thing there. Rear wheel carrier and spares that are removable. They've got a nice bendy feel to them. Side steps and then the bumpers, including a tow hitch with a pre-drilled hole. No actual hitch itself, it's just the bracket for it. Lights that aren't long enough for this thing to open all the way. And this is what you have to plug in every time if you're going to lift the lid on the body, which you'll need to do to change the battery. It should be that this is just like that much longer, and then you'll be able to open it and it'd sit. The wires have gotten hooked. Okay, so this is a small problem. You've got to be careful with that. One of these just got stuck down between the frame and one of the links, and if I'd forced it, it would have snapped that. You've got lovely little plastic retention straps for the wires inside, which is good. You've got nice solid shock mounts. It's very plush. I read on the box reverse drive design, which is what RGT has been doing, and FTX in a lot of their cars. They'll have the transmission with a reverse spinning out drive on the rear to help eliminate torque twist, so that your front spins one way and your rear spins the other way, so that when you drive forward, the body doesn't tuck down in the opposite direction to what your shafts are doing. This says reverse drive design, but the gearbox is a super basic, similar to the original SCX-10 design that's been cloned a million times. It's really basic, and it doesn't have that, so you will actually have some torque twist on this, which is unfortunate. The links are all nickel-plated steel, good articulation without being ridiculous, front and rear. This has the appearance of being a 1/12, it has the label of being a 110, and it has the actual dimensions of a 1/8 scale. If you want a truck that looks kind of like it, this isn't the only body, the G-Wagon. This is the MN86KS. It's actually slightly smaller, and it is definitely a trail truck, and it's a kit, and it's a hard body with opening everything, like everything on this thing. The doors, sorry, wrong side. The doors, the hood or the bonnet open. You've got lovely front mounted motor, tire carrier, the rear opens as well. If you want a trail truck that's pretty and handles like a trail truck, buy the MN86KS. Here's my review for that. Great little car. That's a kit too, so you get to build something, you know? If you want performance, similar money. Don't get that, get this. The RGT Pioneer. It's the EX86 110, and we've got a whole video series on that. Check that out here. This thing has its original tires and wheels, and it's amazing. I'm not kidding. Get that if you want just straight performance. If you want cheap and you don't want a kit, get the version 2. The 136-100 V2. I don't know if it's called the FTX Outback 2 because we don't have FTX here in Australia, at least not easily gettable. Yeah, it's not as pretty as this thing, but you can buy 2 of these for 1 of them. It's got trick lighting in this thing, and the wheels are pretty, no doubt. The body's nicer, there's no question. But if you want a rock crawler in this size and you're on a budget, let me direct you to this thing, and here's the review for that. So you've got 3 trucks to consider. It's the MN86KS, the RGT 136-100 V2, and the EX86 110, or the RGT Pioneer. And we won't talk about the other one. If the price was half to 2/3 of what they're asking, closer to this thing, yeah, it's a good trail truck, but there are better trail trucks in that case. Feel free to leave a comment if you disagree or you've got other insights for me. I'm always open to discussion on this stuff. I'm not kidding, I'd love to be wrong. Well, thanks for joining me for this somewhat less than satisfying exploration of the RGT 136-100 V3 and its crawling abilities, or lack thereof. Throw me a like if you got something out of this. I really appreciate you watching. But you know what, there might be another side to this story. Heavy duty rock crawling may not be the core demographic that this thing is aimed at. Just maybe there's a different perspective.